Thank you, Jasper. Thank you, guys. Thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. I appreciate your time and attention, and I hope this next couple of minutes will be worth your while. So, as Jasper said, we're on this journey, and I'm taking you through my book. And tonight is chapter 3. And just to give you a bit of context again, what prompted me to write this book was really my curiosity and fascination of how to get more out of life. So I studied the various principles and disciplines involved in psychology and biology to help me to get more value out of life. And this is what led me on this journey that I'm taking you through. So, as I mentioned in previous sessions, this content is not so much about improving yourself, but it is more about becoming yourself. It's about actualizing latent God-given potential so that you can become everything that you are capable of being. And in the first two sessions, we looked at biological code, and we looked at DNA, and we looked at environment and how that affects inflammatory markers, aging, and wellness. And then in the second session, we looked at rebooting the operating system, which was really taking responsibility. And tonight we are looking at chapter 3, which is updating your software. And this journey is really to take individuals from a survival state to a thriving state. And tonight's session, as the name suggests, is really about the software. And throughout the book, I make the comparison, or I use the metaphor of hardware and software. And the software really is the programming and the coding language that we use and within our mind-body systems. So the nervous system interprets data and input from your senses, and then it represents that information, it formulates action and directs behavior. So this dynamic process is mostly happening outside of your awareness. Information is filtered through your beliefs, your ideas, memories, and meanings. It then gets represented internally as a map or navigation system, and that shapes the individual's subjective reality. So this session is about bringing all these coding principles to your awareness, and this will provide you with a better understanding of coding to update old or distorted maps. And the accuracy and quality of your map will ultimately determine your destination. So just as a summary, tonight we're going to touch on these various points, and I'm really just going to touch on them briefly to keep it short and succinct. If you want to know more about these, then please tell me so that I can get a copy of the book to you. The contents tonight is about running your own brain. We're going to touch on states of mind and body and frames of reference, mapping, navigation, and attention, emotions, memories, beliefs, meaning, and change. Now, these are all the ingredients and building blocks that help you to understand your software better. So the brain and the nervous system is really the control center that influences all other bodily systems. It sends out instructions and receives and processes information and feedback from all other parts of the body. So by shining light on these unconscious processes, you are in a better position to accurately interpret information and effectively manipulate the instructions that you send out to your body that will influence your results and outcomes. So I love this quote by Carl Jung: "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." So this session is really providing you with these building blocks that normally operate unconsciously. So how we are conditioned over time by what we absorb through our nervous systems and what we pay attention to. Hopefully, after tonight's session, you will be more conscious of these processes. So very simply put, your thoughts and feelings are signals that act like commands to the brain and to the rest of your nervous system. This is how we are programmed and how we program ourselves. If your thinking and feeling is limiting or toxic or unresourceful or negative, it will show up in your life in many different forms. So the nervous system is where this coding happens. The nervous system perceives the world and it informs you how to act or how to react to it. It interprets data and then turns that into action, and this results in your behavior. To put it very simply, you are made up of your habits. The quality of your habits will determine the quality of your life. And habits can be defined as a set of automatic, unconscious thoughts, emotions, and behaviors acquired throughout your life by repeating them over time. Now, first up, states and frames. Just to clarify, a state is your way of being in any moment. Hence, it's called a state of being. It collectively originates in your body and in your mind. So states are not static, but fluid. In other words, they change throughout the day. However, sometimes people tend to get very comfortable or even stuck in some states, which are not the most resourceful. Then they become dependent on that state, and then state dependence means that all your mental functions, like thinking, feeling, believing, perceiving, operate in an accordance with a specific state or mood. And then this can become a comfort zone, or can be described as a comfort zone. So states are not caused by external events, but we create them ourselves. We are often triggered by external events, and then the state is your response to that external stimulus. Or you choose how you respond. You always have a choice in your thinking and feeling. In other words, an emotional reaction over time becomes a state or a mood. If that emotional reaction persists over time, it becomes your temperament. And if this continues over time, it actually becomes a personality trait. So when states habituate, they become frames of mind or perspectives or paradigms. Frames are very important because they govern all your experiences by keeping anything that doesn't fit in its paradigm. Frames become your referencing systems and controls your perceptions. They are very powerful. This means that if you dwell on or repeat any thoughts, emotions over time, they become your way of seeing the world. They become your lenses through how you perceive life. It therefore just makes sense that in order to get the most out of your life, you need to get the most out of your frames and states. Now, we turn to mapping, navigation, and attention. Now, we navigate through life using internal maps or representations. Our maps and navigation systems are constructed from how we perceive, interpret, respond, and interact with the outside world. We create this map through what we perceive in our nervous system via our senses. So we build this map inside our minds, and then this represents the outside world. The outside world we can call the territory, and the inside world is your subjective interpretation or your map. So you use this internal map to navigate through life's external territory without realizing it. Now, it's very important to note that you only interpret a very small amount of the available information or stimuli around you. If this was not the case, we would be overwhelmed with all the information available to our senses. So your brain automatically deletes, distorts, and generalizes information in order to conserve energy and direct processing power to what is most important. So any familiar information is ignored. So you selectively pay attention to what is deemed most important to your survival. Therefore, it's your subjective reality. You choose to pay attention to certain things that makes up your representation. You may not be conscious of this process or of this choice yet, but after tonight, you will. So just like the menu at a restaurant represents the food, it isn't the food. In the same sense, our map represents the world or the territory. It isn't the territory. So we need to make this distinction. It's important to make this distinction that your map is not the territory, but it only represents the territory. So you may not be aware of this or be very intentional about this, but you may be missing out on important bits of information. What you notice in the environment around you is largely determined by your higher intentions or goals or values. Your higher intention serves as an orientation system that detects those things that will help you accomplish your goals, needs, and desires. So, like a radar or an antenna, this survival system helps you to prioritize what is supportive of your higher outcomes, goals, values, and desires, and it filters out what is not. So, if you don't consciously choose your higher intentions, your goals, and you set your values, then you are susceptible to the dominant zeitgeist, which is really the ideas and beliefs of the time. So what happens is then we unconsciously absorb the values and the norms and the ideas and the beliefs from what your brain picks up from other people, parents, books, the media, culture, school, religion, or worse, what others impose on you, also known as manipulation. So to describe attention, you give life to what you pay attention to. Now think about this. Right now, your attention is directed to me and my words, and you're representing them inside your mind. My words are alive to you only because you're attending to them. Without your attention, my words would be dead. They wouldn't exist to you. So if you were like playing on your phone now, or if you were talking to your partner in the background, my words wouldn't mean anything because they would not exist to you. So if we give something attention, we give it life. It becomes alive to your perspective and your subjective reality, which is the only reality that is known to you. That's why it's so important to set our higher intentions, goals, and values and become aware of them, because they in turn direct our attention. So setting up your higher intentions to things that matter to you are beneficial to you and your outcomes and things that empower you. And we will look at your higher intentions in more detail in a later chapter. So if we look at these maps that I'm referring to, these internal maps, they are made up from past experiences. So in a sense, we can say that most of us live from the past, most of the time, most of us do. We navigate the current world through a lens of past experiences. So you create your maps through the following. You perceive the territory, and then you map it perceptually. You have an experience with the world out there, and then you internally make a representation or map of what you experience through your senses. Now, the more emotionally significant an experience, the better it gets mapped. Then as you keep repeating or habituating your ideas, understandings, states, and frames, then they become permanent. As mentioned, your frames are really reference operating systems for structures of reality. Our maps become our referencing systems which control what we perceive. So people or human beings operate as a pattern detector and as a mapper, which gives you the ability to program yourself. And as you map things, so you become. This is because you treat this map as your reality. Your map is your best guess of reality. In other words, it's your subjective truth. Now, as you navigate through life, you're working from this historical data, this map and this navigation system that's represented from past events, experiences, people, emotions, thoughts that had significance or meaning to you at some point in time. It's important that a map is simply a representation or a framework for how things work. We can't keep all the details in our brains. So we have to prioritize, we have to delete, we have to simplify and generalize complex information into understandable, organizable, relevant, and retrievable chunks. If you don't update this map, you are navigating from an outdated and inaccurate map with an old navigation system and outdated software. Now, you may feel like you're in the driver's seat of your life, but it may be a bumpy ride if your map isn't updated. So this is in a very short form or abbreviated way how we create our reality. You choose an orientation. You may set it intentionally, or you might adopt it from your environment, culture, etc. Now, this determines what you pay attention to, your perspective, your frames of mind, and your expectations. You then filter out information that doesn't fit in with your paradigm. You experience what you expect based on your pre-held beliefs. And then this in turn validates and confirms your subjective reality and reinforces your orientation. And this can become a routine. Your daily routine and habits become a program. And this is your software that brings about the same results. So you become a product of your habits, beliefs, and frames of mind built up from past experiences. And this is how we become conditioned. This cycle becomes an unconscious program which runs your life. Your nervous system is encoded. You have become the chess piece and you are no longer the chess player. Only if you become aware of this and you start to question this, you question your current programs and your current maps and whether they are working for you and whether they are contributing to your life, your goals, and your desires, then can you start questioning them and start changing them. So this brings us to emotions, which is another component of these maps. And an emotion can be described as a combination of sensations, evaluative judgments, beliefs, meanings, and values that is registered in your body as a state. Now, emotions are really only a gauge if you think about it. If you experience any emotion, it indicates the difference or the discrepancy between what you expect, in other words, the map that's in your mind, and what you experience, the territory or the reality. It reflects the difference between your representational map and reality. So you can change your map if your emotions don't serve you, but you cannot change the territory. So the question is, does your map fit? Is your map updated and is it accurate? Often what was appropriate during childhood or early years and contributed to your map and how when you built this map is no longer appropriate or serving you as an adult. So your maps need to be updated. The secret about emotions is if you know how to use them, then they will not be controlling you. So what if you could use your emotions like a compass? Emotions help you to know whether you are on the right path, which is defined by your goal. Your emotions, positive or negative, serve as an orienting system and provide you feedback as you go through life, whether you are on track or not. If your life is not where or how you want it to be, it's possible your goal is not what it should be, or even worse, that you may not have a clear goal or defined outcome. The way in which the world manifests itself to you is in large part determined by your aim within that world. So therefore, if you switch your aim, or if you clarify your aim, your goals, etc., it will change your perception of what is positive and negative. And you can change your emotional response on how you experience it. If you change your mind about what you want, everything can be switched around. And things that were causing a negative emotion can now cause a positive one. Next up is memories. So we all know what memories are. And memories are more likely to remain when they are attached to a significant emotional experience. Trauma or otherwise significant emotional events get stored in your memory as a snapshot. And when they are repeated or rehearsed, often in your head, people can then become dependent on these thoughts and feelings and linked to those memories and emotions, and they can use those problems or conditions that reaffirm their life limitations. This is because they feel something that they are familiar with and something that is comfortable, even if those emotions and memories can be destructive or limiting. As long as you're thinking in the past and holding on to those memories, beliefs, and frames of mind, you are sending those messages and commands to your body. So the choice to think, feel, and respond differently always feels uncomfortable and unsafe. This is because we are going into unexplored territory. We're always nervous and cautious to move into the unknown, and for a good reason, because it may be dangerous. But it's not healthy for us to avoid change or challenge. So to grow and learn, we must interrupt that old cycle that brings about your default state. You must do something new and embrace the unknown and unfamiliar. So I want to share a few neuroscience facts with you on this topic. Instead of reality being passively recorded by the brain, it is actively being constructed by it as you interact with it. Everything you hear, including from yourself, is an opinion, not a fact. Everything you see is a perspective, not the absolute truth. And just because you have a thought or a feeling doesn't mean it's true. It may be subjectively true to you, but it doesn't make it a fact. And that brings us to beliefs. Now, in summary, when I speak about beliefs, it's not only religious beliefs, it's beliefs. We have beliefs about everything in life. And beliefs can be defined as our best guesses of reality or the territory with the information available to you. So beliefs are not facts. We often treat them as facts, but they're not facts. Beliefs are our principles of conduct. In other words, if you really believe something to be true, you will live as though it's true. It will show up in your behavior and actions and in your results. And beliefs are formed when we have repeated a thought enough times and given that thought a strong sense of confirmation. So that thought or belief doesn't have to be true. You only have to confirm it and think it enough times in order for it to become your subjective truth. And then you live according to that belief as though it is true. So your body cannot differentiate between facts and beliefs. When it registers a thought, it doesn't know that it's just a belief. Your body responds to that thought as if it's truth or fact, because it's a command that is sent from or received from the brain. Very powerful. Now, we learn most about ourselves when we question or challenge our beliefs about certain things. Now, this can be about anything, about ourselves, about other people, about the world, etc. Breaking habits is unlearning old beliefs before you can learn new ones. It's making new pathways in the garden of your mind. We must remove the weeds and the rocks and cultivate the ground. Our gardens of the mind can over time become rigid with age, but they don't have to. We must unlearn old ways before we can learn new ways. We need to prune the old connections before growing new ones. And that really is the process of neuroplasticity. And then quickly, I want to go into the topic of meaning, which is also an important factor in your software. Now, that which is significant to you has meaning. Meaning is the importance or value you attribute to an object or a situation or to someone, to anything really. We attribute meaning to things as we go through life. You give meaning to experiences, events, objects, and people. This meaning you attribute is not stable. What is important to you is not necessarily important to me. And what was important to you as a child may no longer have significance to you as an adult. The meaning of things depend heavily on the relationship those things have to the goals we are pursuing. The outcomes we expect and desire determines the meaning of our experience. So there's a lot to say behind meaning. We can go very deep into it, but the main thing is to better understand our behavior and what drives our behavior, we must understand meaning. Meaning is what drives us, it energizes us, it motivates us, and sustains our health. If you have given something a positive or empowering meaning, it will invigorate you and drive you forward. If you have given something a negative or a disempowering meaning, it'll have the opposite effect. So meaning is not inherent or innate. You subjectively give meaning to something. And meaning really doesn't occur in dictionaries. Meaning occurs in your nervous system. Let me give you a simple example. Let's say you were attacked by a Rottweiler when you were young, and from that day, you've given Rottweilers a fearful or negative meaning in your life. Or Alternatively, you could have grown up with the most wonderful Rottweiler ever, and today you love Rottweilers more than people. The meaning you have given to Rottweilers lies inside the individual. So, in the same way, you have given meaning to things in your life. It could be anything from your family, your children, your career, hobbies, pets, objects, or daily activities like having dinner with your partner, playing a board game, or a sport with your friend. It means something to you. If you have attributed something with a positive, enriching, or empowering meaning, it will drive you and energize you to devote time and energy to it. It also has a negative side. Your meanings can be toxic, futile, or limiting. By giving something these meanings, it will not bring out the best in you. Let's look at a few examples. What meaning have you given to work, exercise, or a healthy life? Maybe you see work as a means to a paycheck, exercise as punishment for having a cheat meal. Maybe you view sticking to a good diet as denying yourself from the pleasures of life. So these are all toxic meanings given to things, and that will not inspire you. The reality is you can choose the meaning you give. The meaning you have given things have a major influence on your life. The amazing thing is that you can change the meaning that you've given. If a meaning you have attributed to something is not serving you or enriching your life, you can change that meaning. Speaking of change, so change is expensive and it's energy consuming. It's one of the most energy expensive and consuming things your brain can do. In other words, to learn something new or to lay down new neural pathways. Remember, your brain's priority is to keep you alive and help you survive. So it will attempt to be as energy as efficient as possible. That is one reason why change is so hard, because it's learning something new. So behavior and thought can be reflexive or automatic, or it can be deliberate. When you resist to the urge to respond to something in a specific way that normally triggers you, the nervous system changes. So this engages your brain and the prefrontal cortex, the area of the brain responsible for calmness, clarity, focus, attention, and motivation. So what happens is your automatic behavioral response is the way that you unconsciously respond to the world. And as you can see, there are many influences that make up these unconscious drivers. This makes up about 90% of who you are. So even if you say you want to change and you want with that other 10%, with the conscious 10%, you say you want to change, the odds are not really in favor of the change. So you can sincerely say that you want to be happy, you want to be healthy, you want to do X, Y, Z, but your body is running on a whole different automated program that is unconscious. That is also why old habits are so hard to break. So how do we change? Now, change can be brought about by two ways. One can be brought about by negative events like trauma, loss, or crisis. Sometimes people will only change when it's too late. You can wait until you are diagnosed with cancer, dementia, or some form of metabolic disease, which is needless to say, it's too late. Or you can become aware of your subconscious operating system and change the coding, the beliefs, and the frames of mind that keep you running your operating system. Your constructed matrix of beliefs and frames that keeps you stuck in the same place. So the choice is yours, and we touched on this in the previous session. You can wait for pain and suffering to jolt you into change, or you can change with joy and enthusiasm. Learning how to change your response, your cognitive, emotional, behavioral response to your environment is where transformation starts and where ignorance ends. It's not about suppressing, ignoring, fighting, resisting your emotions. It's learning how to accept and change how you think and feel about your emotions and about your life experiences. So the core idea I want to leave with you is that you are really made up of your habits. You're a result of ingrained behaviors that came into existence by mostly unconscious repetition of an automatic thoughts and feelings and responses over your lifetime. And this is known as conditioning. You'll never change your life until you change your daily habits. The secret to your success is found in your daily routine. Now, you know that to experience change and new or different results, you need to change the way you respond with your thinking and feeling. This is the start to understanding the coding of your software. And this runs your hardware, which is the behavior and the results you experience. So my interpretation or my summary of Carl Jung's words are, if you don't want to be a victim of conditioning and ignorance, you need to become aware of the unconscious processes and take control of them. So conditioning and ignorance is really the enemy. This prevents you from creating the reality you choose. So human beings are really endowed with a powerful ability. This is called the self-reflexive consciousness or metacognition. And we will explore this in our next session and future sessions. So this ability takes us from living in a stimulus response world that we touched on previously, where most animals live, into a choice universe. And this helps us to be the chess player and not the chess piece, and helps us to create the life that we want. And that really is the summary just of the elements that is involved in your software. And this is just really the foundation for the next chapter. And this will give you a better understanding for how to affect lasting change in anything that you want to impact and want to do in life. Thank you, guys.